Hello again. This series is on the island of Jersey. Everything I've done, even though it doesn't look like it, every single video I produce is keyed towards this subject and it all coming together. And it's going to take a lot of time for me to do so. So give me that like, share and follow if you can, please.
Jersey is just 9 miles by 5, more French than British, an island where there's no party politics, where the UK seldom intervenes, where the Chief Judge and the Attorney General are brothers. Jersey is used to dealing with its own problems, but now the world wants to know who knew what and when.
I'm going to show you who and how covers this up as well. It's going to take a couple of series again, just like the Kincora piece, which I still haven't finished with. We will revisit Kincora because they've just pulled down the building, because they're trying to hide things still, okay? This involves very dark subject matters, including child rape, torture, murder, illegal imprisonment, and just an entire almost nation of cover-up.
Following the recent revelations of systematic child abuse at the Jersey Home for Boys, bailiff Sir Philip Ballyhash has hit back at what he calls ridiculous conspiracy theories regarding a Masonic cover-up. Sir Philip interrupted a meeting with the Duke of Kent, who is Grand Master of the Grand English Lodge, to issue this statement.
I find it, quite frankly, astonishing and upsetting that Jersey's proud Masonic heritage should be attacked in quite this manner. I am also, it has to be said, deeply upset that someone as esteemed as the Duke of Kent should become embroiled by association in this very tragic case. I was indeed, as you know, governor of the Jersey Home for Boys at the heights of the abuse in the 1970s and the 1980s. I was employed, as I know my fellow lodge members will concur, in very much a hands-off capacity.
Billy! The big question I get asked is, when did it all start and why?
This pins the Masonic conspiracy together. There's Jimmy Savile's funeral. The arrows are pointing to Freemasons in full garb at his funeral. They even carried his coffin, and if you'd noticed, they put the effigy of a child before his coffin. You bastards. Here they are carrying his coffin, full garb, from the BBC. You can Google at any point you like to see the fact that it is there. Okay, don't believe me, please actually do your own look. It's a simple Google search. Fuck 'em. Find out, know where the enemy is, know how to fight it.
Gentlemen, it so happens I've spent my life fixing things for people.
I thought you were going to fix my getting into number 10.
I've already done so.
Can I thank you for everything you do for every good cause?
For the first time, we report from inside Haute de la Garenne as Jersey's children's homes begin to give up their secrets.
With the quality of the evidence that is coming forward, I'm absolutely convinced that we will get convictions.
We've drilled boreholes. It basically releases any aromas that are down there, and there has been an indication up in this corner.
We hear from those dragged from their beds to suffer an ordeal in the dark.
I often heard other boys screaming, so there was something going on in another part of the cellar.
And track down the care staff from other homes who tried to escape their past.
There's Jimmy Savile there in the shades at the front with the children at Haute de la Garenne. It's where he went on holiday, to this place where kids were tortured, murdered and fucking raped. All right?
While I commend the work that's actually taken place, all that good work is now being unravelled, in the sense that there are allegations on UK media of a reasonably prominent person who has been accused of grooming young children, and that the police have failed to do their duty and investigate properly, and indeed that the person was known to the police and had a relationship with some of them. Will the minister agree to, I know you're not Chief Minister yet, however, will the minister order an independent investigation into these allegations, not including the Police Complaints Authority, which unfortunately is not very good at doing these things, or the Police Standards Department.
It is shocking, sir, in my view, that Deputy Higgins should base these sort of allegations on some comments made on social media. I mean, we all know that Deputy Higgins, when it comes to being a conspiracy theorist, is right up there at the very top. I invite him once again, sir, to get his facts from the people who actually know what's going on, not on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Snapchat. Come and see me, sir. Come and see me, I say to Deputy Higgins. Come and see the police officers responsible for dealing with sexual offences, and get his facts right before he makes these sort of wide allegations, which are quite honestly offensive to the States of Jersey Police, suggesting they don't investigate things properly, because I know they do. And if he would take up my invitation, because I've made invitations to the deputy before to come and see things which go on at the prison, for example, but so far he doesn't want to do that because he might actually find out what is going on. Come and find out what's going on, the truth, and stop making these allegations in public before you know your facts, sir.
Supplementary, sir?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Frank, we're talking about dead children.
Yes, Duty.
Frank, we're talking about dead children.
Yes, Duty.
Frank, we're talking about dead children.
Yes, Duty.
Exactly. So you shouldn't be politicising it. You should now be throwing your support behind the police and behind every effort to find out who was responsible. Trying to sharp Jersey internationally. Trying to sharp Jersey internationally. Trying to sharp Jersey internationally.
6 weeks ago, police in Jersey started the grimmest of work, digging up the cellars in a children's home. It was in response to accounts by former residents that they'd been locked up, mistreated and abused there. The media attention has not been welcomed on the island, famous as a tax haven with a long history of discretion and secrecy. If that has led to victims' allegations being ignored and those under suspicion escaping punishment.
Haut de la Garenne just wasn't on the radar. But that all changed in November, when the police revealed they were digging beneath the building. I came back that day and was the first national journalist to report on the news that human remains had been uncovered. The home opened 140 years ago as the Jersey Industrial School for what were termed young people of the lower classes and neglected children. In 1960, the name changed to Haut de la Garenne. The building housed 60 boys and girls, from toddlers to teenagers, a mix of vulnerable kids and those in trouble with the police. The regime was tough, but some staff posed a more sinister threat to the young residents.
He would come into the dormitory, pull me out of bed. O'Connell come with me and drag me along by my hair, or pull me by the ears, and frog march me off, and take me down into the cellar, strip me and dunk me in a bath, and sexually abuse me. And when he was satisfied, when he had satisfied himself, he would wander off and leave you there.
Leave you in the dark?
Leave you in the dark, yeah. Traumatised and terrified. I often heard other boys screaming, so there was something going on in another part of the cellar.
Kevin O'Connell, then 12, was placed at the home with his two brothers. On occasions, the abuse lasted for days.
When he'd come back later on, in the afternoon or evening, and sexually abuse you, again satisfy himself and go off. And of course I'd be sobbing and crying and God knows what else, you know. Same thing on the Sunday, and then sometime on the Sunday afternoon, evening, he would come and kiss and cuddle you as though nothing had happened.
We became interested in Haut de la Garenne. People were saying they were abused there, people were saying that they had friends who were abused there. And we then took the decision at that stage to mount an inquiry which was still covert at that time.
Lenny Harper arrived on Jersey 6 years ago. He's a widely experienced detective who previously served in the Royal Ulster Constabulary and the Met.
Can I just ask, how deep beneath the ground, the grass level here?
He's been the public face of this investigation.
We're in there now, and we've had a quick look, and as I say, we've had an indication from the dog.
Police are looking at 7 sites in the home and its grounds. Partial fragments of a skull have been found near the front of the building. As yet, no more remains have been discovered. Experts are now concentrating their efforts on working through a series of 4 cellars, which, until recently, had been completely bricked up. Jersey police kept their investigation secret for a year. Their decision to go public brought a flood of information from alleged victims. Information that led detectives to this cramped underfloor area beneath Hotel Garin. This is what's been referred to as Cellar 1, and right below me is the stone trough in which were found minute traces of what police think is human blood. Beyond me, the team found a set of metal shackles, perhaps once fastened to the wall, and they too are being tested for DNA. We were the first journalists to be allowed in shortly after Cellar 2 was opened up. Alleged victims have spoken of a trapdoor into this room, of a wooden bench. Somewhere amongst the dust and rubble may lie further clues. This is a huge and complex task. Any inquiry of this kind stretching back decades means it's very difficult to corroborate evidence. Witnesses are fragile. Victims are naturally reluctant to relive painful memories. Records have proved sketchy or non-existent. Records have proved sketchy or non-existent. Records have proved sketchy or non-existent. Records have proved sketchy or non-existent.
You could always lose them, sir. Lose them in a 5-foot dinghy? Oh dear, I've lost my binoculars. Oh no, there they are under the seat.
And some of the people police might want to talk to have since died. That's why it's absolutely crucial that the forensic teams recover every scrap of information that might support accounts of what may have happened to children here at Hotel Garin. Paul Moed was just 18 when he landed a job as a junior house parent at Hotel Garin in the mid-60s. He has vivid memories of the threat posed by the then headmaster Colin Tilbrook to those under his care.
I saw him in the dormitory one evening walking with a pillow under his arm, and I asked a colleague who he was and what he was doing, and they said, oh, that's Tilbrook, he's carries the pillow around so you can't hear the girls screaming. And I said, I can't believe you just said that. And they said, no, it's true, he's actually got one of our girls pregnant, and a 14-year-old, and we've had to take her for an abortion.
Shocked by apparent acceptance of the threat to children, Paul says he immediately reported what he'd seen to the police.
I was told, in plain English, we will look into it, but don't say anything to anybody because it will affect your life in Jersey, your family, you'll be embarrassed, your names will be in the papers, and it will make life very difficult for you.
Keep it on the square, it's a clandestine affair. Be silent or beware.
No records exist of that interview.
You could always lose them, sir. Lose them in a 5-foot dinghy? Oh dear, I've lost my binoculars. Oh no, there they are under the seat.
But Paul has since made a formal statement to Lenny Harper's team. Kevin O'Connell has also been interviewed. He believes the trauma caused his brother to take his own life after running away from the home.
The fact that Michael experienced exactly the same as what I went through, and I believe it just got too much for him, and he hung himself, and I firmly believe that that was because of the abuse, the sexual abuse.
Dealt with properly at all. That's certainly amongst some of the information we have. When we have dealt with the serious allegations of abuse, both physical and sexual, then we'll turn our attention to suggestions that matters weren't dealt with, and if there are any criminal implications arising from that, then that'll be dealt with as well.
On the island of Jersey, there's a man called Stuart Sivray. Stuart Sivray was the health minister. He is the only decent human being to fight this. He'll even argue that himself with me. He'll say, no. Stuart's the man, okay? Stuart lost his house, his wife, everything. They put him in jail. He was never, ever personally involved. None of his family members were ever harmed. Yet still, he got up and he did it. And every time this man opens his mouth, legend.
We'll speak to two politicians from the island now. One of them is Senator Stuart Sivray, and he's the former health minister who says he was sacked for blowing the whistle on all this.
We know that this has taken place over all those decades.
He of course, is distorting
and
the truth.
I'm the first and only politician to have tried to rip the lid off
But
it
it
and
comes
sort it
from
out.
one disaffected person. He blew the whistle, he was sacked.
When this debate between the island's chief minister and his former health minister stopped, the real conversation started.
Because of his totally unacceptable conduct.
Frank, we're talking about dead children.
Yes, Stuart.
Frank, we're talking about dead children.
Yes, Stuart.
Frank, we're talking about dead children.
Yes, Stuart, exactly. So you shouldn't be politicising it. You should now be throwing your support behind the police and behind every effort to find out who was responsible.
I've repeated
No, you're trying to shaft Jersey internationally. Trying to shaft Jersey internationally. Trying to shaft Jersey internationally.
His attitude is you're trying to shaft Jersey. You can see Mr. Sivray's pure disdain because he knows. You're trying to shaft Jersey internationally. This is known as the Jersey way. You'll get used to this very soon throughout this series.
Must have been a cover-up within the home itself. There is no proof at this juncture that the cover-up went any further than that. But if it did, then it will be fully investigated, and those people concerned who let children down either by covering it up or not doing their job properly will also be investigated and brought to account.
The system in Jersey has failed catastrophically. I think it's important.
The man who cried cover-up says Jersey can no longer investigate itself.
The instinctive, immediate reaction of the Jersey establishment to any controversy is to try and silence it as much as possible. It's very difficult to see how these people can effectively regulate, police each other, discipline, maybe even sack people if they happen to be your bridge partner or something like that.
Keep it on the square. It's a clandestine affair. Be silent or beware. Beware.
Something is wrong when there are senior leaders in the island who want to gloss over the events and continue to promote the positive image of the island.
Let me emphasise again, whatever else, we have a dead child or dead children in that cellar. Now we don't know yet how they got there, we don't know how they died, but we do know that within that cellar there is at least one dead child and maybe more. And anybody that wants to denigrate that or to try and minimise that, then I would ask them to look at themselves. It may turn out in the end that the death happened elsewhere. It may turn out that it happened a long, long time ago. Let's hope that is indeed the case. But at this moment in time, we cannot say that, and until we do our inquiries, we can't rule it out. And as I say, I would ask everybody again who are having an attack at our victims, an attack at the credibility of this inquiry, to remember the work that our staff are doing in there, what they're finding, the evidence that they're finding, and to have the welfare of the victims at the forefront of their minds.
No, it's not. No. The UK doesn't own this island.
Well, not the UK, no, just Britain.
Well, it's independent. The Crown.
Yeah.
The Queen.
Yeah.
The Queen.
Yeah.
This is where the Queen brings her money to avoid her taxes.
Yes.
No, it's not.
No.
The UK doesn't own this island.
Well, not the UK, no, just Britain.
Well, it's independent. The Crown.
Yeah.
The Queen.
Yeah.
The Queen.
Yeah.
This is where the Queen brings her money to avoid her taxes. The Crown.
Yeah.
The Queen.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
No.
The UK doesn't own this island.
Well, not the UK, no, just Britain.
Well, it's independent. The Crown.
Yeah.
The Queen.
Yeah.
The Queen.
Yeah.
This is where the Queen brings her money to avoid her taxes. The Crown.
Yeah.
The Queen.
Yeah.
The Crown.
Yeah.
The Queen.
Yeah.
The Crown.
Yeah.
The Queen.
Yeah.
Common decency forbids me from going further. But yeah, in the image above, you can see where they put an actual pit so they could soak the children down and wash them down from blood and whatever else after they've done what they did. They waterboarded children. They tortured them. A good one was they put them up, strung them up, tied copper wire around their thighs and genitals and electrocuted them. Another one is they ripped out the baby teeth knowing that they'd grow back. They made them write this on a post while screaming into their face how guilty they were as they raped them.
The allegations didn't stop at Haute-la-Garenne. When it closed in 1986, the children in its care were transferred to smaller units, family units with house mothers and fathers. Back then, this was one of them. It was called Blanche-Pierre. But tragically, the new regime did not mean an end to the abuse of vulnerable children. At Blanche-Pierre, the house parents, Jane and Alan Maguire, and these are the words of an official report, subjected children to gross acts of physical and psychological abuse.
Darren Pico, who now lives with his family in Cornwall, recalls one injury that he says was caused by Jane Maguire's cruelty.
I'd done something wrong, as apparently I always did. And she chased me through the house. I fell onto a chair. My arm was on the arm of the chair. She came along and pushed down and it snapped. And then she covered it up by saying that it was me just falling onto the chair.
Jane Maguire had previously worked at Haute-la-Garenne. The building which housed Blanche-Pierre is now scheduled for demolition. But for 10 years, helped part-time by her husband, Mrs. Maguire opened its door to troubled, lonely or vulnerable children.
My mum was ill with cancer and we were put in temporary foster care and then we were all moved down to Blanche-Pierre.
How old were you when you went?
5.
Me and my sister would always argue over petty little things, you know, end up in little squabbles from it. There, if we just sort of had a little sharp tongue, we'd have soap run down our throat for it. They'd be grated all along the back of your teeth, and his nails would be all against the top of the roof of your mouth.
They put Dettol in my mouth and swirled it around. It went down my throat and it burnt my throat. I could hardly breathe. I was in severe pain. I was screaming. My throat swelled up. I could not breathe, and I was burning because it's undiluted Dettol in my mouth and my throat. They didn't even take me to the doctors or anything.
It's not just the children that remember the Maguires. Their next-door neighbour witnessed the brutal regime and the treatment dished out to Darren Pico in particular.
Darren, an older child, was put in the corner of the playroom and he was left there to stand sometimes all day in the corner, and I would be by my kitchen and my kitchen window looks into the playroom, and he'd be stood there crying, a beautiful looking child, a really beautiful looking child crying, and he used to make me cry, and he used to be hit with what I thought was a stick. Alan Maguire was the one who actually inflicted the punishment, and Jane just stood by and watched it happen.
In 1990, 2 members of staff complained about the Maguires' behaviour to the authorities, and they took action. After a fashion, the couple were allowed to retire from Blanche-Pierre. They were even sent a letter from the Education Authority thanking them, and this is part of the letter, for their 110% commitment and hard work, the proof of which, says the letter, lives on in the children for whom you've shown much love and care. Remarkably, Jane Maguire was then allowed to take up a new job with the local authority, which meant that she continued to work with children and with disadvantaged adults.
That decision was made by Anton Skinner, head of Children's Services, and he stuck to it in the face of opposition from other team members. In 1997, the Maguires came to the attention of the police. Former staff and residents and the neighbour all gave statements to detectives who thought they had a case. In court, Alan Maguire collapsed. He told police he was terminally ill. The magistrate decided the couple should stand trial, but the case was eventually abandoned by the Attorney General, who blamed insufficient evidence.
I didn't want to go through with it in the first place, and then I managed to build up the courage to actually speak out and come out about what had happened. And there was evidence there to prove that what had happened did happen, and a lot of it was never brought up in court.
12 months after the police investigation, this confidential report from Jersey's Health and Social Services Department officially catalogued instances of abuse at Blanche-Pierre. It found Jane Maguire guilty of gross misconduct,
and it recommended her dismissal. So 9 years on from those first complaints, she finally left social services. In the last month, police have received more information about Alan Maguire, including allegations of sexual abuse. So what became of the couple? Our trail led here to a remote village in the south of France. Police have long believed that Alan Maguire did indeed die of a terminal illness, but we discovered otherwise.
Are you going to answer any of these questions?
This was surely an opportunity to refute the allegations against them, but the Maguires refused to speak to us.
Mr. Maguire, we would like to talk to you. Do you admit that you abused the small girls in your care, Mr. Maguire? What do you have to say? Do you have any remorse?
Fine.
What about your wife, Mr. Maguire? She was being cruel to children. She was making them drink disinfectant.
Mrs. Maguire, hiding in the front seat, remained silent throughout.
You've ruined the lives of many children in Jersey. Do you have any remorse at all?
And then they left.
As you've just seen, there's the two Maguires in France. The reporters let them go. They don't chase it up, they don't chase it down. But that's the BBC, the Jimmy Savile fan club again. The Maguires lived their entire lives to the end of their days in peace. The French government did nothing, the English government did nothing, and the press and police did nothing in both nations. They lived on a pension, quite fat. They got lots of money, quite a lot, and had a nice life. And guess what? You and I fucking paid them. Don't worry, these Masons were never harmed.
Back in Jersey, we joined the team now tracing a web of information connecting Haute-la-Garenne with a number of other children's homes. From the 50s to the 90s, young people passed from institution to institution, and in some cases, the staff they feared moved too. One of the staff members at this home, Heathfield, was an individual who'd actually helped Anton Skinner review the Maguires case. Amongst his charges, a boy transferred from Blanche-Pierre, but once again frightened of his carer, Darren Pico.
Half the time he's just like drooling over other boys in the house and stuff, and he's just looking and thinking, and you think he's not looking at them right, and this is not right, you know, this is wrong.
It was the way he looked at people. It was creepy, and he just didn't look right.
But he's always trying to get me in his house or in his office, and he'd lock the door, and I have to push him away and get myself out. I shove him out of the way and get myself out. I was useless, you know, and you know, I'm just nothing. But you're special. And hold on a minute, I'm nothing, but I'm special. And you know, that over and over and over and over, it did break me down a bit.
Lisa Farrington was at Heathfield with Darren. She's now training as a social worker in Scotland, but she remembers the nights he sought safety by hiding in her room.
He just came and got into bed with me and was just shaking and was just trembling. I was like, "You okay, Darren? What's wrong?" And just didn't say nothing, just crying, just doing that.
Yeah, I did, because I was scared. Of course I was scared, I was crapping myself. Because I thought some dirty bastard was getting his hands on me. And I thought if I was in one of the girls' rooms that he wouldn't come near me. And I thought if I was in one of the girls' rooms that he wouldn't come near me. Girls' rooms that he wouldn't come near me. Girls' rooms that he wouldn't come near me. Yeah, I did, because I was scared. Of course I was scared, I was crapping myself.
Darren's claims were echoed by James Campbell. He recalled an incident involving the same staff member and another boy that he says he can never forget.
I walked up the stairs, I walked into a room, I opened the door and I seen a member of staff on top of another lad that lived in the home.
What was your reaction to that?
I closed the door quietly and walked off, and within half an hour I'd gone to see a member of staff and told her what I'd seen. her reaction to it was, I mustn't say things like that.
No one took action at that stage. The police only got involved when an alleged victim went to them, and other children from Heathfield contacted their care workers. Now, Lisa's told me she remembers giving evidence to what she thought was a child protection panel. She says within days the staff member from here had gone. Anton Skinner, still head of Children's Services, had once again allowed someone about whom he had doubts to resign. We know that man went back to the UK, where he continued to work with vulnerable young people.
All we were told is that he'd gone to England, and I thought, how could they just let him go? The police should have came and interviewed me straight away, and the people involved, and the person should have been prosecuted. The person shouldn't have just been left to leave the island.
Mr. Skinner told us he'd given the man a reference provided that he didn't work with children. He didn't want to be interviewed, but said he'd acted in the interests of children at all times. He's by no means the only childcare official whose decisions may now be scrutinised. It's also true that there have been other child abuse scandals in the UK, many of which were not well handled. But what's striking is that institutionally, Jersey doesn't seem to have had the will to grasp the problem until now, despite mounting evidence. 11 years after the UK introduced a sexual offences register, Jersey still doesn't have one. Police say they're unable to monitor over 120 sex offenders living on the island.
You could always lose them, sir. Lose them in a 5-foot dinghy? Oh dear, I've lost my binoculars. Oh no, there they are under the seat.
This operation is now moving towards at least 3 arrests. We understand that suspects have been identified both on the island and in the UK. For the present, Jersey's ministers can only wait for that criminal investigation to run its course. But tomorrow, faced with the possibility of civil claims, they'll ask the island's parliament to approve an independent inquiry.
So they're going to ask for this inquiry to happen. This is why I've shown you the delusion of choice and the 2 choice puzzles that I've been doing, teaching you how to see how these things talk. This is the BBC quite clearly going to town on Frank Walker and enjoying the guy that used to run Haute de la Garenne in the background kind of thing. So, what's going to be said? Pay attention.
It will be chaired by a senior British QC.
There may also be internal issues to be followed as well. There will be lessons to be learnt, and that's for sure.
But you will name names even if people can't be prosecuted?
We will.
But you will name names even if people can't be prosecuted?
We will.
You will name names even if people can't be prosecuted. Oh yeah. How do you know they can't be prosecuted already when we don't know what the fuck's going on and the inquiry hasn't even started? Pay attention. They're taking the piss. They're already telling you no bastard's ever going to get done by this inquiry before it even sodding well starts. How do they know? They're mocking you. This is the Mason way, to lay it into your psyche so that everybody hears it without hearing it. It's doublespeak. I keep teaching you.
But you will name names even if people can't be prosecuted?
We will.
But you will name names even if people can't be prosecuted?
We will.
Refuge and alcohol to block out the madness. What happened?
It's not over for you, is it?
No. Never will be.
A few yards from where the skull fragment was found, another team have begun work below the tarmac where children once played. Haute de la Garenne remains at the heart of the inquiry, but in a way it's just a starting point, a catalyst for change that many believe is long overdue. Events stretching back over half a century will continue to haunt Jersey for a good while yet.
There's a group of people walking around doing this. You know them as the G, and you keep saying it and sponsoring them with your words by saying it. Stop saying G. He's the G, okay? There's only one group with a huge fucking G, all right? Yeah, you're literally saying their words for them and backing them. It's psychological. You're programming people when you say it. You're pushing it out. That's why 50 cents G unit. Yeah, They don't all wear Masonic garb and end up in lodges and are old men. Unfortunately, they're everywhere.
We got the first dating back this morning, and it's fair to say that the information that we're getting from the experts in the UK at this moment in time is conflicting so much that it leaves us in a situation where we now have to move forward to where we send all of our pieces of bone to the United Kingdom.
You could always lose them, sir. Lose them in a 5-foot dinghy? Oh dear, I've lost my binoculars. Oh no, there they are under the seat.
So the very idea of sending all the evidence via post all the way to England and then sending it all the way back means it's always, the mishandling process of data can be put in there. And that's what they're doing. They're putting in as many excuses as they can for things to go slightly wrong, and then the evidence goes missing, which is what happens. What he turns around and starts off as saying that a human remains with saw cuts through him, which he's seen quite clearly in skull, turns out to be coconut shell. You don't make that mistake after you've found several bodies. Neither is that a possibility of a flaw for the forensics, as they've already said. They're lying to you outright, and it's insane. So where's this leading? How does something this horrific happen? Well, it's the same as you not being able to push the follow button. You don't want to talk about it. Good vibes only. This is how it's done. This is how paedophilia truly gets away with it.
Over to Jersey from France. It's an affordable option for international travel, and its history hasn't deterred visitors.
You try to find a place, of course you find this place, and suddenly you have many information about what happened in the past. I know it was dreadful, okay, but we have to live now. I've got pupils and they have to visit, and without this place we couldn't have come.
Now, have you noticed the secret? That's right, people just don't give a shit. Oh, well, it's not my kid. Oh, well, that's never going to stop it. We only stop this by fighting it. And you don't have to fight it. All you've got to do is back me. I'm serious. I'm about to show you something. I'm about to show you a secret.
It was branded Jersey's House of Horror.
Well, this is the entrance to the Haute Lagarenne, as it now is. Obviously, it's a very institutional type of building.
140 years of children being raped, tortured and murdered on the site, and guess whose logo's there? The same again, the Jimmy Savile Fan Club. You want to fight, boys? Alright, let's have a fight. Next film, I'm going to reveal a code that connects this and Epstein Island and a Freemason code, all combined in one. Fuck 'em, let's have a fight then.
It was branded Jersey's House of Horror.
We watched that live on TV from our office, and we just sank. It was heartbreaking to hear that. So we've spent 7 years building a business here. We sold in 2016 7,500 bed nights, which equates to about 3,250 people coming through the ports. Many of those are children as well, and they're having a life-enriching experience and going away happy.
It was branded Jersey's House of Horror.